Good morning. We're just going to give everyone a few seconds to migrate in from the waiting room. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mastering Change, a comprehensive guide to effective change management for HR professionals, brought to you by Prime Point HRMS and Payroll, Citizens Bank, Association Member Trust, Focus New Jersey, Manufacturing Counts, Minding Your Business, NJBIA HR Support Center, New Jersey Business Magazine, and Planet New Jersey. I'm Alice Skens, and I'm Chief Operating Officer and CFO for NJBIA, and with us today is Judy Saylor of Prime Point HRMS and Payroll. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the largest statewide business association in the country, representing New Jersey businesses at the State House, advocating for balanced and sensible laws and regulations, and offering customer development opportunities like visibility through event sponsorship, magazine advertising, or visibility through our podcast and TV show, Minding Your Business, on NJTV 12. We also provide our members access to a self-funded healthcare program, a 401k solution with full administration and fiduciary oversight, and an HR support platform that includes updates on legislation, sample policies, and job descriptions, as well as a salary benchmarking tool. Our newly designed HR Essentials product combines live HR support with over 30 digital training courses for you and your staff. And speaking of training, we've got another great program with Judy coming up on October 18th on Mastering Solo HR. So just a few housekeeping items. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll email it to you in the next few days, so be on the lookout for that. Also, during the presentation, there is a chat feature where you put your questions in as Judy is making the presentation, and she will address them as we go. Finally, I'm thrilled to introduce Judy Saylor, Director of Learning and Development for Prime Point HR and Payroll. She holds a master's degree in Management and Organizational Leadership from Springfield College, received her Human Resources Certificate from Rutgers University, and is a certified SHRM professional, and holds a certification in Professional Human Resource Management. Judy has presented for NJBIA, the Chamber of Commerce of Southern New Jersey Association of Community Providers, Tri-State SHRM, as well as Garden State SHRM, and has been featured in Forbes and Jersey Matters. She is well-versed in all aspects of management and leadership. Her passion is staff development. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Judy Saylor.
Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to speaking today. If you have questions, please be sure to put them in the chat. And if you get lost in it, ask and I will stop and we can get back to whatever we're looking at. So let me get us started here now. All right, can everybody see my screen? Okay, good deal. So
I can't see it, Judy. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm not seeing it.
Good catch. But sometimes it's not helpful. Come on now. Can you see that?
I can see a flower.
Perfect.
I think that's what that is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
I have a thing about flowers. It's one of those things. So, good morning, everyone. We're going to have a very interesting conversation about mastering change and getting through the effects of it. And I'm sure all of you as professionals have had times where you've had major changes, staff changes, building changes, organization changes. So we're going to talk about a variety of ways that we can manage that and we can support others through the management of that. What we are talking about, though, is really called change management. And that is a system of processes and tools and techniques that help people to move through change. Most of us don't like change. I was talking to someone earlier about they got a new car and they have to figure out where all the buttons at and where's the windshield wiper thing now. And things are different. We have to kind of learn and figure out where we want to be. Change management takes those tools and it supports then moving into bringing the people together for success, right? And sometimes it takes some people longer than others, obviously. I have a 17-year-old who is, driving and being an adult now, adultish, I guess I should say. And so, it's taken me a little bit of time to be okay with hey mom, I'm going out with my friends, and there the car leaves with him in it, that kind of stuff. So today is Friday the 13th. We chose this specifically for change because nobody really wants change at a moment's notice, especially. As you all probably are aware, that the fear of the number 13 is tristidicophobia. Say that like 5 times fast. The fear of Friday the 13th is paraskeivia triophobia. I don't know who makes this stuff up. I got to tell you. But in doing my research, I found metathiosophobia. That's actually the fear of change. Okay. And if you look here, these are the symptoms: severe anxiety, panic attacks, feeling stuck or unhappy in a situation, extreme anxiety. We could have that on any day of the week. So it's okay to have a fear. It's not okay to stand in place with a fear. We don't want to ever just freeze. Okay. And there are times, yeah, we might need to. It's potentially a thing, shall we say. Hold on 1 sec. Let me make sure the chat is open because it hid away. Okay. So, how many of you have read or looked at this cartoon / book, Who Moved My Cheese? Okay. You haven't? It's a great read. It's a quick read. It's a series of pieces on understanding why and how we get to this point. Like the characters in it are Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw, right? And it makes sense as you're reading it, if you look at it, to understand where that comes from. Sniff and Scurry are always looking for the next thing. They're going, oh, AI is coming. How can I implement that into my workplace and make it work for me? Hem and Haw are like, I don't know that we're ready for that. We probably need to back off a little. It's probably not for us yet. Those 4 little creatures go through this storyline, and it really is about how do you view change? How can you accept change in a positive way so that it has success for yourself? And it's kind of funny as it's going through, because there's points where they give you these little anecdotes and you think, oh, that's me. Oh, maybe I need to think about this a little bit more. The takeaways from reading Who Moved My Cheese is that change happens. It's not going to wait for you to say, oh, now we can do it. It's going to happen with you or without you. It could be the flood that washes you over, or you could be driving the boat. That's, your options. We in business, in work, need to anticipate change. Everyone is paying attention to the economic drivers. We're all looking at, is there a recession coming? Is there not a recession coming? Do we need to have layoffs? Are we keeping everybody? What are the things? Those are all anticipatory items that we could watch and we can pay attention to. Okay. We need to monitor that change. Okay. So the economics are going up and down. Okay. God forbid we have another C word event kind of thing. What are we going to do if there's a downturn in the market? What are we going to do if we cannot get the materials we need to create the products that we sell? We have to adapt to change quickly. And quickly does not mean tomorrow. Quickly means whatever the level is that you need to evaluate, review, get information on, that's acceptable. There are folks who are going to blow past you. That's okay. If they're blowing past you, catch up and follow them and say, what are you doing? Tell me what you got, what I don't have. And then actually have the change. It could be a change in business from staffing. It could be a change of, oh, you're getting a new technology. You're merging with another company. You're building another facility. Think about all the things that are going to create change. And enjoy it if you can. Not everyone can, and that's okay too. But we have to look at it. What is this change going to affect? What is the positive side to this change? And then be ready to change again and again and again. Where you are today is not where you started your career. We all graduated or whatever we did in life got into work, we are not where we were, look, let's see, 50 years ago. So we probably have gotten to a routine with change, right? And so that's where we have to start thinking quicker sometimes and be ready to change again and again. What are the causes of change right now? Just about anything. The big ones, external forces, internal forces, customer demand, wanting to increase profits, declining profits, needing to be more efficient, change in the culture. Change in the culture is one of the biggest items that will blow up in your face by making so many changes. And it can come from the latest information on education, work, money, whatever. Your culture starts to change as soon as we're all watching the news, quite honestly. And it can get very anxious. That's where we get that kind of piece from. The cost of inputs, the cost of outputs, that's all changed. We've all discussed having a change in pricing, right? Everybody's going to the grocery store. We all need to eat. It's one of those things. It's a bad habit. It is what it is. But prices have gone up. And I had to sit down with a group of adults and discuss the fact that there's a reason that those prices went up. And it's a roll up, right? It starts with the raw material to create something. And then it's sold to the next person. The next person changes something about that. And then it goes to the next person. And then there's people that need to get it to whatever market they're going to. And then there's people that need to sell in that market. Every time we have another layer added, those prices go up. So that's going to continue to happen. It's not going to stop. Now, we've all talked about, I'm sure, and looked at the changes in the housing market. The house that you own right now, it may have doubled in value based on what you paid for it. That's a huge change for folks. And we do this a lot in our economy. It's not bad. It's just it's just a change. And so we have to manage those things. Legislation can be a big issue. For a lot of you, you may be looking at the new overtime pay rules. That's a big change. Folks who are now hourly, you may need to move them to salary because of that change, or vice versa. And that's going to change the income of the organization, the payroll of the organization, you name it. Tax changes. This year, a lot of the school districts are allowed to do a 9.9% tax increase. And the districts that are allowed to do that are the ones that have been losing the money for S2. That's going to change a lot of communities. That is going to drive that rate up for the housing market there. New technology, maybe it's old technology, politics, ethics. There is so many causes to change. You could sit all day and write a list of them. All right, so it's not going to work the way I want it to work. If you could, please, on your cell phone, please put in, you are going to send, the address is 22333. And then you're going to, in the text message itself, you're going to put Judy, Judy, Sailor, SILER, 862, and send that message, and then you will be entered into this grouping. And then tell us, why do we hate change? What is it about change that you hate the most? What makes you want change, if that's the case? So give everybody a minute or two. Fear is a big one. Fear comes on because it's the unknown. Halloween's coming. Get ready for it. If you don't like spiders, be patient with your neighbors, because they're going to cover their house with them because they think it's really neat, and that's fine for them. It might keep you awake at night. It keeps me awake at night. I don't like spiders. So what is it that we hate so much about change? Because a lot of times change is great. it can be really great for us. You know, you get a new car, you get a new house, you fall in love, you fall out of love, anything's possible. Is anyone able to put their words in? Maybe not. In the chat, can somebody tell me if they put in a word and if it has not shown? All right, well. When we look at, oh, thank you, Matt. Okay, so something's wrong with it. My apologies. When we look at the psychology of change, everybody accepts change differently. Okay, obviously. We need to think about what is it that, you know, is going to be for me. It's intensely personal. It is, you know, I may have to change the way I'm thinking about a project I work on. I may have to change how I feel about somebody. You know, if you've ever lived through that moment of having a colleague that you were collegial with and they're on the same tier as you, and then that person gets promoted and they're a manager of you, that changes how you feel. That's a big change. And sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it works out well. Other times, not so much. So change is a personal feeling. I have to decide how I'm going to feel about it. And I'm going to have to decide, do I need to do something differently about it? And this came from the Harvard Business Review by Janine Duck. Great reading. If you have the chance, look it up. It was a great piece to read and to get some of the items for the presentation for it. So change and getting to change is a continuum. We start off with unawareness, and each of the steps is, you know, that kind of version of a 12-step program. You have to have awareness that there's a problem. You have to take the awareness. You need to do something about it. You need to grow to understanding. You need to grow to acceptance. When we look at all of the change, that unawareness part is that whole concept that many of you, I'm sure, have seen of the iceberg. You have no idea what's really below. You may not be in the room for the group of folks who are making the decisions about the change that is coming. Oh, well, we're going to meet with, you know, the HR department, and we're going to talk about getting a new technology to use in the system. Well, okay. Payroll is down the hallway. They know nothing about what you're having the conversation about. And all of a sudden, somebody hears something, and now there's a problem because payroll has no clue what you're doing. And so it's that, what's underneath? What do we have to share? Where do we have to share? Who are the groups we have to share? And this comes from The Bottom of the Iceberg by Casey Bazaz, and it is a great read. It's, you know, maybe a page and a half tops. It really talks about that awareness piece. You can find success. At some point, you have to really know what's going on below the surface in order to get to success. And you're going to have to take risks, and you're going to have to get feedback. And sometimes feedback is hard. So, you know, there are a lot of pieces to this that we're going to have to think about when it comes time to making these change. The barriers to change. Oh, I just love the barriers to change. Often it's the people. And some of that, and many of you may have heard this expression before, but it's the weebies. We be here before you came, and we'll be here after you're gone. Folks get into that piece of, we've always done it this way. And in my first career life, which was 20 years in nonprofit, you know, the weebies were that staff group that had literally been there forever. They really didn't want things to change. They had a handle on it. They knew what to do. They knew what every day was going to look like. I have watched folks like that push brand new executives out the door because they just couldn't communicate to the point where they could accept change. Sometimes it's your staff. Sometimes those are clients. Sometimes it's your facility. Do you have the facility and the space to manage the change you're about to make? You know, if you're in sales, if you're in manufacturing, you know that space is a hot commodity. So do you have the ability to handle all of the change you're about to do? Sometimes change comes from your economic resources. We know, you know, there are tariffs in place, there are taxes in place, there's a variety of those pieces, and each of those things impacts that economic resource that you're dealing with. So we have to think about what is this barrier? Do we need to save X amount of dollars before we jumped into this new project? Do we need to have, you know, who are the right people to be on the team for this? Because everybody has something to contribute, either at the beginning or the end of the project, but we need to be sure that we've got the right resources in the room with us. Sometimes it's those environmental resources. I'm seeing now a lot of ads for some reason about bamboo sheets. Within my brain, it goes, that doesn't sound comfortable at all. But once you research them, it's a reusable material. It's a very fast growing plant, obviously. And it's a good resource. Is it what we were using before? No, it's a change. And it's taken a little while to get adopted. So when you are faced with, we've always done it this way, be prepared to say, okay, so let's dig into that. What are the other options we might be able to do to help make this piece easier, faster, more efficient, shorter, etc. Awareness. On the continuum, we start off with unawareness. I don't know what's going on, and other people are having meetings in their office about it. And then all of a sudden, I become aware. This is often where you see folks start to dig their heels in, because now they're concerned. Well, I didn't know we were talking about this. Why are we doing this? How is this going to affect me? Because we always go back to, how's it going to affect me? I was at a conference yesterday, and they were talking about discriminatory actions in the workplace. And one of the cases that they reviewed was one where they wanted to move a male employee into a female's office and move her to another location. And it was not for any other reason other than efficiency in the one department. So now everybody would be in alignment with the people that they're working with. And the young woman felt that this was discriminatory. She didn't want to move her office. And the court said, you know, you're not really being damaged by this. Her awareness was only that this is my office. I've worked in this office for 10 years. This is my office. And she couldn't quite get past that, apparently, according to the attorneys. And ultimately, they did make the move. And 3 months after, she was as happy as could be, because now she was literally in the hallway with the same people that she was going to be working with daily. So she didn't have to wander around the building to go find people. And it made things much easier. That awareness piece immediately starts off with, oh my God, what are we doing? And then we have to navigate into, all right, there's going to be some uncertainty. There's going to be some complexity, but we can make this work. Let's work through it together. With the awareness part, we have to manage the resistance. Okay. And it's, you know, we're not talking about the Klingons. We're talking about being able to have the empathy and the understanding for someone else who is now feeling threatened by a change at work. Okay. We never want to feel that. And if we have the staff team that we want to keep, we need to be sure that we're managing that piece of it for them, because they're great employees. You don't want them to leave. So we have to listen to what they have to say. We have to promote the positive pieces to this, okay? We have to remind ourselves about the culture of the organization. There are organizations that I have dealt with where it's change for change's sake. It's not change for a positive reason. So we have to be sure, is this change for change's sake, or is this change to promote, make more efficient, support, provide for? We have to find that balance and what that's going to mean for each person. So some of the ways that we do this in managing stress is we have to clearly communicate what we're doing. Why are we doing it? We're going to get a new payroll HR company. Okay, what does that mean? All right, well, we're going to have to make sure that all the data is clean. We're going to have to make sure that all the staff are trained. We're going to have to make sure that we have all the documents that we need loaded into the system so that we have it for the future. We have to provide a forum for folks who are currently using that system to be ready to hear the questions and concerns about the new system. Okay. AI is coming. Okay, we're going to add that into it. You know, we've got to think as leaders 3 or 4 steps ahead, because we want to keep the great staff. We want to keep ourselves on the positive steps. So clear communication, provide that training and support, whatever it's going to be. Address the concerns, let folks come to you, be empathetic. If it's their schedule, we need to be empathetic. Yes, you will be receiving the slides after the event. Next week, it all gets sent out to everyone. Sorry. Side note. We have to foster that supportive environment. We have to recognize and celebrate when we've gotten certain milestones accomplished so that everyone feels that positive piece. Okay, well, we've accomplished this. Look how much better we're doing now. And then offer support resources. You know, there are times that we have seen now quite often, you know, someone's mental health is often connected to their job. It can also be connected to their family. So how do we support them in that? Well, maybe they need some counseling. Maybe they need coaching. Maybe they need to learn a way to cope with stress and anxiety. There are plenty of resources that we can provide to staff to support them with those pieces. Understanding. What do you think? And put it in the chat, please. How would you know that your staff now understand the change that's being made? How would you say, oh, okay, they're getting it. We're going in the right direction? Put some answers in the chat for me. Let's look at what we're talking about. They ask questions to clarify. That's great. Yes, absolutely. They become champions for the change. Yes. They're saying, hey, I see good things in this. They're going to the folks who are a little concerned about it. And they're saying, yes, yes, this is perfect. We got it. Let's go. What else? The day-to-day decision-making has adapted in response to the changes. Yeah. And that's critical, because once it filters into the day-to-day, not the, you know, hanging over our head angry moments, they're starting to feel more comfortable. They're now saying, you know, yep, okay, this is the best decision for this now that we're making this change. Heads are nodding when you are discussing it publicly. Absolutely. On the other side of that, when someone's rolling their eyes in a meeting, you know they're not getting it. And so that'll start to give you the idea, okay, I need to speak to this one and this one and this one so that we can talk this through and see what's going on. So training and development is huge when it comes to any change. It doesn't matter what kind of change it is. If you're getting a new CEO, if you're getting a new finance person, if you're getting a new computer system of any sort, you have to train your staff so they feel confident with it. As a funny, I will tell you that my son, when he was probably in 3rd grade, our district got computers for all the kids to use, right? They stopped using textbooks. Everything was a tech book. They did new math, not old math. And they gave them laptops and they never gave them a typing class. like, think about that for a minute. And maybe you didn't have one, but when I was in high school, I had to take a typing class. I had to, in order to pass it, I had to do 60 words a minute. We handed half the nation of young people laptops, and we didn't teach them how to use them. My son is 17 now. He's a senior in high school. He has his first typing class this year. All this time. And when he came home and he said to me, oh yeah, my communications class, they're going to make us learn to type. And all I could do was laugh. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Now? I mean, it's good because he's going to go to college and he's going to go into the workforce. That'll be great. He'll be able to do it. But in my head, I'm like, I don't know, if we had taught this in like 4th grade, maybe they would have had a much better time with laptops. Much better. We have to offer training in a way that, you know, maybe for some folks, it's a reskill. You know, they haven't used this for a while. They need the opportunity to refreshen their saw. Sometimes it's an upskill. Okay, now we're going to teach you on this product or this item or this opportunity. We have to work towards getting them to want that improvement, that next step up for them as an individual. I teach college also at Ryder, and the best thing I have seen for young folks is when well, A, they graduate, and then B, when they get their first job, and then in 3 years they'll call me back and say, hey, I just got a new job and I'm doing this now. And it's like, yeah, keep moving, got to keep moving up. Even if up is over, it's still an up. It still gives change for you. It still starts to refreshen you. You may want to look at, through the development process, developing that talent pipeline for future projects. You know, there are always folks who I have had the pleasure to work with that perk and they're like that project manager brain. They've got that. And until you see it, they're just doing their job. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you should be the project manager for this. Let's get you some experience in this. Let's see what you can do. Training and development is becoming very symbiotic, because I can train you to use a computer. I can't train you to think differently. I need to get you to be a part of that process. Acceptance. There's the old way and the new way. How do we know when we've dropped the old way or we've improved the old way? I'll say, well, they're going to be using the new things. They're going to be accepting of the change. They're going to be accepting of the culture change, right? It may be a schedule. It may be anything. And this is where you need to start looking at what's going on around your organization and your industry and saying, all right, well, we want to be the front runner. So how do we do that? And where should we be doing it? It comes from, you know, that piece of awareness to now we're doing it to commitment. Okay. People, you can see that folks have made an emotional commitment. All right. They're taking their time. They're trying to be empathetic towards each other because change is hard. They're coming in with a positive attitude. You know, it doesn't have to be donuts every day. They're still coming in and they're saying, hey, yeah, this is okay. We're working on this today. You're seeing communication. You're seeing people share ideas as opposed to rumors or what's behind closed door stuff. They start to support the decisions. And you can see it because it's not oh, I'm really nervous about this. It's, hey, can you show me how to do this on this, whatever the item is. They're also accepting responsibilities for their tasks. And I have seen and heard horror stories that where people, they have a required task to do, right? So you're in charge of the reports for X department. Well, they're late. Well, okay, now they're later, or they're not being done and detailed. We're not looking at them and we're finding errors. Once folks start to accept that task responsibility of being on time and meeting deadlines and meeting milestones, it changes. folks start to be, more committed at that point. Strategic communication strategies. The first one you have to work with everybody on is time management. And part of that's because when you change a product you're using, a technology you're using, that's going to change what my day looks like. And so a time management refresher is great for everyone, because there is going to be bigger changes as you move through this. Utilizing open and transparent communication channels. That means way more than my door is always open. It means I'm also open to hearing what you have to say. You're going to be accepting of somebody coming in and saying, I don't really like this and here's why. And you're going to let them get it out, and you're going to have to do active listening to address the issue promptly, right? So this person is going to come in and they're going to say, I don't like this. It's too hard. I don't understand it. No one's training me. And then you're going to have to do the active listening part and say, okay, so what I'm hearing is you need someone to sit with you and go over this so that you understand it and you feel more comfortable with it. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, let's make that happen right now. Folks will see that leader as being their trusted advisor, as being that trusted person that they know is going to tell them the truth. You're going to have different conversations with stakeholders. You may have a board of trustees. You may have a board. You may have multiple layers of management above you. And you're going to have to continually update them on what's going on. They're going to need to know, because they are the ones who are going to be signing that check or agreeing to sign that check to pay for whatever this major change may be. And then, of course, building trust. And that goes, above you, below you, to your sides. We have to trust, A, the process, and B, all the people. And if we don't have that trust, you'll know it, and it will make life much harder to get through this process. Stakeholder engagement. Managing change means managing the conversation between the people leading the change effort and those who are experienced to implement the new strategies. Again, this is Jeannie Duck. I told you she was a really good read. I liked her that much. I put her in here a couple times. The connections between the process, the conversation, the strategies, and the people, there are times that we forget the people. We can manage the other stuff. I can order parts. I can do this. I can do that. It does not mean that I have all the answers. So I have to make sure that if we want the transition to go through, I've got to look at the culture, the emotion, the strategy that we've chosen. Stakeholders who are not engaged in this will be your blocker. They will stop you in your tracks, because everybody, and I've served on boards. I was crazy enough to serve on my board of ed in our town. When you have a group of people who are decision makers and they're making decisions in a bubble, and now you have to implement it, it's going to stop. It will freeze everything in its tracks. And that gets really frustrating for the teams below that have to continue to move forward, because there's a deadline in their head. They've been told this has to be implemented by January 1, right? So you have to be sure, whatever that's going to mean for you, and it could be somebody else's job in your organization, to make sure that the stakeholders are fully engaged and they understand what the timeline and the process is. And that's really a tough one. Leadership roles with the changes. Leading by example. You're all leaders in your industries. You are, part of NJBIA. You are making big decisions. You are keeping New Jersey moving. Lead by example. I am not the best at everything. I will find the person who's the best at something that I need to get done. There's technology things I'm like, oh, I need a visual for this, or oh, I need a visual for that. I'm not making that. I'm going to the person who does it the best in our building, because I know I'm going to get something that's awesome. We have to empower the team members, and we have to engage the team members, because when you engage with people and you're working together, that builds your trust. And that's that, we're moving that up the ring. Setting the clear goals and the vision. What is this supposed to look like at the end? Is it supposed to be that we're going to save X number of dollars? Is it that we're going to, we've had someone retire and we're going to merge two positions together so that we have a new full-time person? Like, what is it that you're going to be doing? And then fostering that culture that we want of innovation and improvement. So action. Action's going to be different for any of the different changes that you're making, right? School districts are going to get some school districts are going to get 9.94% of taxes for them to make decisions. That does not mean that it's going to, they're not getting a new building. They're not building a pool. They're getting money that is supposed to be there for the students. And a lot of folks within the last, 4 or 5 years have retired out of being in a school district, primarily because age. I would like to retire. I'd like to retire tomorrow. It's not going to happen. But B, things have changed. Things have changed a lot since they started teaching. So we've got to look at what are the actions that we're going to take to make our change be a positive change and not a negative change. I worked with a great superintendent once that when someone would retire, she would encourage all the younger staff to get a second thing that they could teach. So like special ed or Spanish or something else, so that those new folks coming in were coming in and they had other skills that they could bring to the table with the group. And it was more job security. If you have 2 certifications or you have 2 projects that you work on regularly, you are probably going to be one of the ones that would not get laid off because we need you. You can do more for us than one. So I found this and it's taken me a while to really love it. But they call it the 7 R's and it makes sense. It's a little stressful in my head, not going to lie. But first, the reason, clearly articulate, why are we doing this? If it comes back to you that you are doing this just for change's sake, don't do it. And talk to people and say, wait, are we just doing this because we have to use this money up? Let's find something better for that, right? What's the return? What is the actual outcomes you want to see from these changes? The risk. What is the potential risk to develop the strategies? What are the resources? How time, budget, staff? We could eat up all of our staff time with the wrong thing if we're not really looking at the whole picture. Looking at their roles, clarifying the roles and responsibilities. Okay, I'm HR. I will respectfully ask you all, check all your job descriptions. Make sure, one, that you take that bottom line off that says other duties as assigned, because that's a no-no. And make sure that what the person is doing is actually on their job description. It could be that it's not. And we want to know what they're supposed to be doing, because when and if they hit the lottery and they're not coming back to work, you're going to have to train somebody to do that job. And if you don't know what that job was, how are you going to train anybody to do it? Relationships, we've talked lots about that. We want to make sure that that is, going to keep people with us. And then, of course, the resistance and how to anticipate that part and be proactive about it. The change implementation, make the plan, execute the plan, okay? Involve all the stakeholders, monitoring the progress and adjusting strategies as needed, ensuring this sustainability. Sometimes a change is only meant for a short period of time. It could be just a project-based item. It could be, a change in product. It could be a change in finance. We have to be, if we're doing this, we have to see, is it a short term? Okay, here's the defined period of time. If it's not, if it's a long term, what is the full impact going to be on the organization, on my team, on myself? We want to provide regular updates to all the staff. and you have to figure out who's going to be the one that has to communicate that. Because sometimes we think we've told everybody and we have not. And it happens, right? Here at Prime Point, we have one person who's designated to send out the all email stuff. So we know when there's a change, we have a new client coming on, we have this change and we have that change, so that everybody knows. And I've never worked in a place like this before, and I find it to be fabulous because I can go back to whoever, to the person and say, hey, wait, you put this in here. What is that? I didn't know about that. What are we doing? Encourage feedback, ask. Because the best thing that could happen is they come and they go, this doesn't work and that doesn't work and this doesn't work, and go, oh, okay, let's go look at that. Because now you know where are the problems. You don't want somebody to struggle with a problem for a week in the office only to find out that it could have taken 5 minutes to get it fixed because they just didn't have the right whatever it was. The organizational culture, defining and shaping a culture that embraces change. No, we don't want to have change all the time, but change is going to naturally happen. You have one person go out on maternity or paternity leave, you're about to have a major change because that person may have been the guru of whatever it is. And now you have a sub who doesn't necessarily know everything that that guru had. And yeah, you could call them. You're not supposed to, right? Maternity, paternity leave, they're off. Bonding with the baby, they're off. So we have to be careful of those things. We don't want it to appear that they are working while they are off. Making sure that we've aligned the vision for the change. Does everybody understand what it's supposed to look like? Maybe you're getting a new marketing plan. Maybe you're getting a new website. And you throw the website out there and it's suddenly live and you look at it and you go, those are the wrong colors. How did we not see that? How did we miss that? Any marketing person will tell you that is like hair on fire kind of moment. Empowering the employees. We have to get everybody engaged, all levels. And then fostering that sense of, yep, you belong here. You are part of our life. You are part of our network. This is the best place for you to be. Resilience building is another piece that I brought into this because as I was doing all my research and looking at it, I thought sometimes there's got to be something more that we feel stronger or we gain a strength. So, cultivating resilience in your individuals and teams, how do you do that? Well, sometimes it's, talking about it. Sometimes it's, having that huddle or the water cooler conversation. We have to feel like we're being heard. Encouraging a growth mindset. Get your folks to read. Find easy things. There are 1,000 podcasts out there about business and improving business and growing your business. There are great, 10-minute articles that you can share with your staff and say, hey, give this a quick read. This is for your improvement. This is for your growth. Just take a read, 5 minutes. Provide the support systems. Yeah. And maybe that's HR. It could be. But sometimes folks need to talk to somebody and they need to get out. I'm nervous about this. This is a big change. Is it going to cost me my job? If this comes on, I'm going to be obsolete. No, you're not going to be obsolete, but people feel that way. And so we have to be empathetic to that. And it gets easier as they grow to learn and understand what the project is, what the change is, how it's going to impact them. And that's where we want them to get to. Excuse me. Developing coping mechanisms in the workplace. When I heard the story about the young woman who felt she was being discriminated against because they were moving her office, I thought to myself, what kind of stressful days is she having? It's an office. I have moved offices in this company 3 times since I started working here in 2017. I'd have been out of my tree if I lost my mind every time they moved me. It's an office. Yes. Do I have it decorated? Yes. Do I have pictures of my wonderful husband and my wonderful child? Yes. but I can move it anywhere I need to go. We all work from home in 2020. Clearly, it's not the office that makes me. So how do we measure success now? And this is a big one. What are the tools that you folks use to measure success in your organizations? Does anybody use a survey? What is it that is your barometer to say, okay, we're doing really well here, or, oh, we need to fix this here, or we need to adjust? Give us some answers in the chats. Member surveys and staff surveys. What do we do with those surveys? Are you looking at them year to year? Are you reviewing each of the response? What are you doing with that? I should have music playing. Come on. Focusing what is working and what is not, and what people need. Oh, okay, good. That's awesome. KPIs, yeah. And I have to tell you, there's so many times I'll go into an organization and, we're working with them on an HR product or something, and I'll say, okay, so what are the KPIs on, this position or that or that? And they look at me like I got two heads. And I'm like, yeah, let's dial that back. Let's have a conversation first about that, because you need it. You need it. I have worked in organizations where I didn't have a job description or a performance evaluation ever. And is it scary? No, because you kind of get used to it and then you don't think about it. And then what happens? There's a change. New management comes in and they want to have performance management stuff 4 times a year. And everybody loses their mind. Oh my God, we've never done this before. I don't understand it. Having a strategic plan to provide the context for the changes that are occurring. The key to that sentence, and I love that, Jay, is that your strategic plan is not a book on your shelf. It has to be something you look at regularly. Your strategic plan is supposed to be your guide. You're driving the boat. If you don't look at that at least once a week and say, okay, what did we do this week to move towards our goals? To move towards our strategic plan? You're missing the whole opportunity to keep moving forward. Anybody else? How many of you have metrics in your organizations for sales or for return or investment? Okay. So we've all got a different variety of things that we need to evaluate. And when you have a change, we use KPIs and post them in addition to having quarterly meetings. Oh, that's good. We have a lot of those metrics. Use a monthly dashboard. Excellent. God made dashboards because we all need them for everything that we're looking at. When a change is coming in, you may have to change how you're evaluating people. Most of us are not evaluating individuals who are, making widgets, for example. We're managing people and we're evaluating people who are managing people. They may have other work they are doing, but the managing of the people is the tough part to evaluate. And so we have to think about what is it going to do, or what is it going, what are they writing about a person in those evaluations? Metrics are key. And, if you're an HR person on this, I love you. We all know that metrics are key. If you don't have metrics, you don't officially know what that person's doing. And so you have to figure out, how am I going to get a metrics out of this? And what's it going to mean? So change management, failures to learn from. In doing this, I started thinking like, okay, we're going to talk about all the positives. We're going to talk about how to do this. We're going to talk about the positive things for change. And I thought to myself, there's got to be examples of folks where change bottomed out somebody. Sears, for example. I'm old enough to know it was called Sears and Roebuck. Back in the day, Sears was it. In our family, you had the Sears book at Christmas, and you would sit down and you would go through the book and mark everything off for my grandparents so they knew what we wanted for Christmas. Well, they were a mail order company. And when Amazon came on, they had at one point the ability that they might have been able to buy them, or they might have been able to sell, and they didn't do either. And so now they're gone. Kodak was all about the pictures. It had to be paper. It had to be a photo. Digital was just not going to work. That was going to go away. I'm old enough to remember Kodak in the middle of the parking lot at certain stores, and you would roll up to the little yellow box and you'd hand them your rolls of film, and they would take it, and a little while later, you'd get it a couple weeks, you'd come pick it up, and it would be ready for you. It was paper. They're now gone. Borders was starting to do Amazon, and Amazon came and said, hey, we should partner. When someone wants you to partner, really make it clear what those parameters are, because partner to Amazon meant we're putting you out of business and we're taking your business. And that's what happened. Borders is gone. So if we don't manage the change, it will fail. And sometimes it's the people. I am sure there was a group of grown adults who sat around each of these tables and said, oh, this is a great idea. We should do this. There's the other piece to it that if the people don't change, the people change. If you have folks that are that dug in and they're not willing to accept a new program, a new opportunity, a new growth, what have you, the people change, or do people change? And unfortunately, that happens on occasion. So that is our program for today. I hope we've all gotten something out of it. If you have any questions, you can email me. I'm happy to send out any of the resources that you'd like, and I'll be sending the PowerPoint on soon.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Judy. Great presentation. As we talked about earlier, we have an HR program with Judy coming up on October 18th. So please watch for that invitation. And you will be receiving the recording and the copy of the presentation as well in the next few days. So until next time, for Judy Saylor of Prime Point Payroll, this is Alice Gens. Thanking you for joining us, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.